Okay, our first question tonight will go to the District 26 candidates, and Randall White will take the question first. The first question, a voter from Arab asks, the House of Representatives and the governor have backed the Pac-to-Pac Ethics reform for several years, only to see it die in the Senate. This year, both Robert Bentley and Ron Sparks agree that the reform is necessary. As a legislator, what will you personally and specifically do to see the passage of this bill into law during your term? Randall White.
First, let me say I'm so glad to see both governor candidates is going to back this up. And I'm for ethic reform. I'm for anything that will get rid of corruption. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to support Jeff McLaughlin. Jeff has diligently tried to pass this Pac-to-Pac bill for a number of times. I was down there and I saw him working diligently for this. So everything needs to be above board. Everything needs to be transparency. The Senate, the House is not the problem. It's been in the Senate. I believe it's passed the House. And when we get to the Senate, it stops there. Well, I'm going to diligently work with the senators also and encourage them to pass this bill. And, you know, we just cannot have corruption in our legislature. We're supposed to be a model for the state. We're supposed to set an example for the state. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to be above board with everything that we do. And the Pac-to-Pac has got to end. And so I am totally for the Pac-to-Pac. Also, one other thing, the bid on contracts. We got to have a cap out on the bid on contracts. That's that's just something that cannot be let go. That we got to have a bid on every contract. If it's $10,000, it should be bid on fairly, and all people should have a chance on that. And so anything that our legislature does in money or dealing with the monies, it should be above board and do it like we would do if we was in church. Thank you.
Kerry Rich, same question.
The question asks, what would you personally and specifically do to see the passage of this bill into law during your term? I would introduce the bill, be happy to introduce it, and not only would I introduce it, but I would ask to serve on a committee where the bill would be considered, and I would urge other members of that committee to support it. When it goes to the floor, I would strongly support the bill, and I would talk to members of the Senate to try to get them to support it. I know it's passed several times in the House before, and I understand that. Sometimes there's a shell game played down there, though. I've seen a lot of times when maybe a bill will pass in the House, and it's kind of arranged in advance that the leadership in the Senate's not going to let it pass in the Senate, and then sometimes they'll let it start in the Senate, and then it's arranged where the House leadership won't let it pass in the House. Now, I'm not saying that's exactly what's happened here, but I know that does happen. When I was in the governor's office as legislative director, Governor James had a Pac-to-Pac transfer bill introduced every year that I was there. And that's the kind of thing that we ran into. One year we'd get it started in the Senate, one year we'd get it started in the House, and we never could get the two houses together, and that happens all the time. So we need to be honest about all of this.
Seconds now. Randall White, 30 seconds to respond.
Well, like I say, we just got to have ethic reform. It's started in the House. Jeff, if he introduced it, Kerry introduced it, we're going to back it up. We're going to make sure that we have ethic reforms, Pac-to-Pac stuff has got to stop. We're going to have bids on all of our contracts. It's just time that we have transparency in everything we do in the legislature. It's come to a new age that we do not have this corruption anymore.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, the same question as for Jeff McLaughlin. As a legislator, what will you personally and specifically do to see to the passage of this bill into law during your term?
Thank you. First, let me say I'm also glad that the candidates Bentley and Sparks have both said that they're opposed to Pac-to-Pac transfers. Y'all know that I've carried this bill for 10 years. I've got it through the House 8 times. I guess, they say, what personally can I do? I suppose I could chain myself to the doors of the Senate and say, I'm not going to be let loose or go on a hunger strike. I'm not going to get out of there until y'all act on this. And I'm joking, but seriously, what I may do, I will tell you this. I will put this bill in. I'll drop this bill in as soon as the election's over. If y'all re-elect me, you can pre-file a bill. You can count on the fact that this bill will be pre-filed. In other words, it'll be dropped in November. We won't wait till March when the term comes up. You asked what I specifically do to pass this bill. Obviously, I'll sponsor the bill and push it again and continue to push it. I always try to make sure that if I'm working on an issue, I'm not saying one thing and doing another. I don't take PAC money. So you ask what I do personally. I don't take any PAC money. And I think that it's important to realize that political action committees, which is what a PAC stands for, is merely a funnel for money to go between different contributors. But the candidate always knows where it's going. And this is a big deal. Before I went to Montgomery, this issue wasn't being discussed. Now it is. Now it's a major issue in campaign finance reform. It's a major issue in the governor's race. I'll keep fighting for this and for transparency and ethics reform as long as I'm in Montgomery. I've got it passed through the House. The House leadership's been behind it each time. I'm not aware of any shell game on this. I'll say that we've got to put focus on the Senate, and we need to push it through the Senate, and I will work tirelessly. I will nag the tar out of the senators. I will be as persistent as I possibly can be. Hinton Mitchum's in the back. He helped me with it in the Senate. He helped me get it through the one year I did get it through, but it was in a different version than the House passed. And as a result of that, it didn't become law. I will fight for this tirelessly if you send me back to Montgomery. Thank you.
The same question for our District 9 Senate candidates, starting with the Democratic candidate, Tim Mitchell.
Thank you. I've stated publicly before in these forums that I absolutely am against the transfer of money in between Pac-to-Pac. This is something that, like Jeff said, has become a major issue in campaigns across the state. And I'm also thankful that the governor candidates have decided they're going to try to help with this situation. I was in the House gallery last session when Jeff passed this bill for the 8th time. And it passed unanimous, I think, yes, Jeff, in the House. So what I do personally as a senator, the first thing I'm going to do when I get to the Senate is introduce myself to the other 34 senators and the lieutenant governor and let them know up front that I was elected by the people in District 9. I'm going to work with every senator that's elected. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, it doesn't matter to me. But evidently there has been some issues in the Senate with this. But I think if I offer myself as a friend to the other 34 senators and try to figure out what the problem has been with it in the Senate, then hopefully we can get somewhere up there. I'd like to take it one step further. I said last forum, I think it's ridiculous how much money that we have to raise. We ought to have a cap on amount of contributions that we receive. There's no reason we should have to sit there 3 hours a day and try to raise money. You know, we ought to be out talking to the voters and finding out what the issues are. So yes, I support Pac-to-Pac, banning Pac-to-Pac transfers. Also support
thank you.
Amount of contributions. Thank you.
The same question to Clay Schofield, the Republican candidate.
I'm also happy that both gubernatorial candidates are against the Pac-to-Pac transfers. I'm also happy that that Dr. Bentley wants to call for a special session, within block off some time during next session to address ethics reform. Let me tell you why I believe ethics reform is critical. It all begins with ethics reform. It all begins with getting good, ethical people elected. Until we change the environment in Montgomery, we're never going to improve in education. We're never going to improve in personal income. It's going to be the same thing over and over and over. We have to change that environment. So with that said, I want to pre-file this legislation, a ban on Pac-to-Pac transfers, a real ban, where we ban it all, to parties, to individuals, to campaigns, everyone. No one will be left out. Let me tell you something else I'm for. Right now in this state, the only state that does this, a lobbyist can spend up to $250 a day per legislator and never have to report it. That's wrong. That needs to be eliminated. If a lobbyist spends any money on us, even if they buy us a cup of coffee, they should be made to report it. And I guarantee you, if they have to do the paperwork, it will cut a lot of that down. We need to be there for the people, not ourselves. Another thing, I believe that we need to give subpoena power to our Ethics Commission. Right now, the Ethics Commission has no subpoena power. It's useless. It's a worthless organization. We need to give it some teeth. So with that said, ethics reform is a key component of my campaign. It's been from the very beginning, because I firmly believe that good government requires strong legislation that makes people accountable, makes government transparent. And as far as the Pac-to-Pac...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim Mitchell, a 30-second response.
Thank you. Sounds like, the majority of us up here support that issue. And like I say, I want to go to Montgomery and meet with other senators and find out what their issues are. And, we've had good government with our Senator Mitchell back there and Representative McDaniel, and I would like to, to confer with them after elected, because they have a wealth of knowledge. We've been spoiled in this area with a good representation. Thank you.
Thanks.